This world looks like it has heroes. That's the lie. From the outside, it shines like a polished movie poster. Towering skyscrapers, flashing cameras, cheering crowds, and capes cutting through the sky like symbols of hope. Children wear costumes, parents point upward, news anchors smile as if they're announcing salvation itself. But this world doesn't have heroes. It has products. In this reality, heroism isn't born in tragedy or sacrifice. It's manufactured in labs, trademarked by lawyers, and sold to the highest bidder. Every rescue is a brand opportunity. Every smile is rehearsed. Every battle is framed for maximum ratings. Welcome to a world ruled by Vought International. Vought doesn't just control superheroes, it controls the story. They decide who lives, who dies, and what the public is allowed to see. Cameras are always rolling, not to document truth, but to rewrite it. A collapsing bridge becomes a historic save. A murdered civilian becomes unfortunate collateral. A massacre becomes a press conference. And the Supes, they don't patrol the streets at night, they walk red carpets. They star in movies about themselves. They sign autographs while entire neighborhoods rot in their shadow. Here, heroism is a costume you put on when the cameras are live and take off the moment they stop. Behind the scenes, the truth is buried under NDAs, hush money, and blood-soaked settlements. When a Supe loses control, when a power surge vaporizes a family, or a careless punch caves in a skull, Vought's cleanup teams arrive faster than ambulances. Bodies disappear. Witnesses are paid off. Headlines are rewritten. Justice never arrives, because justice doesn't test well with focus groups. At the center of this hollow pantheon stands the Seven, the most powerful, most famous superheroes on the planet. They are marketed as gods among men, protectors, icons, the final line of defense. But behind closed doors, they are something else entirely. Some are broken. Some are cruel. Some are trapped in cages of their own fame. And one of them is untouchable. Homelander. To the world, Homelander is perfection. The ultimate American hero. Blonde hair, flawless smile, a cape that waves like a flag. He doesn't just represent power, he represents authority. When Homelander speaks, nations listen. When he appears, crowds fall silent. Not out of love, out of fear. Because everyone knows the truth. They'll never say out loud. There is no prison that can hold him. No weapon that can stop him. No law that applies to him. Homelander doesn't answer to governments. He doesn't submit to oversight. He doesn't fear consequences. He hovers above the law, literally and figuratively, like a god who knows no one can challenge him. And gods without accountability always become monsters. In another world, heroes are forged by loss. They operate in shadows. They bleed. They fail. They carry guilt like a second skin. They don't smile for cameras because they don't want applause. They want justice. But here, justice is a word used in press releases. When a Supe kills, Vought spins. When a city burns, Vought edits. When the truth surfaces, Vought buries it deeper. The innocent don't get justice. They get settlements. The guilty don't get punished. They get promotions. And the people know. Deep down, they feel it. You can hear it in the silence between cheers. See it in the way crowds flinch when a shadow passes overhead. This world pretends to worship its heroes, but it doesn't trust them. Because trust requires truth. And this world is built on lies. Somewhere in the cracks of this broken system, resistance exists. Small, desperate, angry. People who've lost everything to smiling gods and corporate saviors. They don't wear capes. They don't get interviews. They don't get justice either. They just get even. Still, even they know the truth. This world is rigged. There is no symbol of hope here. No line that won't be crossed. No hero who won't sell their soul if the price is right. This is a world where power has won, where morality is optional, where heroism is just another costume hanging in a corporate wardrobe. This world has never known a real hero. And yet, somewhere beyond this reality, beyond the lights, the cameras, and the lies, something watches. Silent, calculating, unimpressed by fame, unmoved by gods. A presence that doesn't want applause, doesn't want power, doesn't want permission. A shadow that believes justice is not negotiated. It is enforced. And this world has no idea what's coming. In another world, the night belongs to Batman. Gotham City breathes differently after midnight. Its shadows are heavier. Its silence is louder. From the rooftops, Bruce Wayne watches the city like a sentry at war, every alley a battlefield, every flickering light a warning sign. Tonight, something is wrong. It starts as a vibration beneath his boots, not an explosion, not an earthquake. Something subtler, a distortion in the air itself. The Bat-computer had flagged it hours earlier, an energy spike unlike anything Bruce had catalogued. Not alien, not magical, not quantum as he understood it. Dimensional instability. Bruce doesn't believe in coincidences. He believes in patterns, and this pattern is spreading. Across Gotham, sensors hidden in gargoyles and streetlights begin to scream. Frequencies overlap. Space folds in on itself for fractions of a second, long enough for Bruce to see it. The skyline warps. Buildings stretch like reflections in broken glass before snapping back into place. Reality is tearing. Deep beneath Wayne Manor, the Batcave glows with unfamiliar equations. Wayne Tech experimental devices designed to observe, not interact, are lighting up on their own. Bruce scans the data in silence, jaw tightening with every passing second. This isn't an invasion. It's a collision. Someone, somewhere, has pushed reality too far. And now the walls between worlds are thinning. Bruce activates a prototype containment field, something he never intended to use outside of theory. A last resort system built to stabilize micro-fractures in space-time. The irony isn't lost on him. He spent his life preparing for gods, aliens, and monsters. He never prepared for the universe itself to break. The cave shakes. Monitors explode into static. Gravity fluctuates. Tools lift from their tables, then slam back down. The containment field spikes wildly, drawing energy from everywhere at once. Bruce realizes too late what's happening. The system isn't stabilizing the rift. It's becoming a beacon. The air in front of him collapses inward, folding like a black hole made of light. Sound dies. The cave stretches into infinity. Bruce reaches for the emergency shutoff, but the floor vanishes beneath him. For the first time in years, Batman falls. Not from a building or not from the sky, but through reality itself. Time loses meaning. Memories blur. Gotham flashes. His parents, the alley, the oath, the mission. Then everything shatters into white noise. The suit systems scream warnings that make no sense. Sensors fail. Navigation collapses. Even Batman, the man with a plan for everything, has no control. Then, impact. Hard. Brutal. Unforgiving. Bruce slams into concrete with bone-jarring force. Skidding across asphalt, slick with oil and rain. Pain explodes through his ribs. The suit absorbs most of it, but not all. He rolls instinctively, disappearing into shadow just as something roars overhead. Batman lies still, breath slow, senses burning. This isn't Gotham. The air smells wrong, chemical, stale, artificial. Sirens echo in the distance, but not like home. The architecture is familiar yet off, like a city built by someone who copied the idea of civilization without understanding it. Then he hears it. Applause. Not cheers of relief, not gratitude. Applause, like a performance just ended. Bruce peers from the shadows and sees it. A Supe floats above a crowd, basking in camera flashes. A staged rescue, a crushed car carefully placed, a crying civilian coached into position. News drones hover like vultures, broadcasting every angle. Batman watches long enough to understand. This isn't heroism. It's theater. His cowl analyzes everything automatically. Body language, crowd behavior, response times. The Supe doesn't check for survivors, doesn't secure the area, doesn't even look back at the wreckage, because he doesn't have to. Bruce feels something cold settle in his chest. Power without responsibilities, strength without restraint, heroes without morals. This world didn't produce this system by accident. It was designed, engineered, marketed. And something worse, something deeply wrong, lurks beneath it all. Then the sky darkens. A shadow passes over the city and the crowd falls silent, not in awe, but in fear. Bruce doesn't need databases or files to understand what he's sensing. The atmosphere shifts, predatory, absolute. A presence that doesn't need to prove itself. Batman retreats deeper into the darkness, every instinct screaming the same warning. This world is unstable. Its gods are unchecked. Its justice is manufactured. And whatever pulled him here didn't do it by chance. Some universes need saving. Some need correction. As Bruce Wayne disappears into the shadows of a city that has never known him, one thought anchors itself in his mind, clear, sharp, and unshakable. This world is wrong, and the Dark Knight has arrived. Batman does not rush. That has always been his advantage. While this city continues its hollow celebration above ground, lights blazing, cameras flashing, false heroes soaking in applause, the Dark Knight moves unseen through its veins. Rooftops, fire escapes, half-lit alleyways that smell of rot and neglect. This city has shadows, just like Gotham, but they feel different. Bruce Wayne watches first, he always does. From a crumbling rooftop, Batman maps the city's pulse in real time. Crime doesn't cluster the way it does back home. There's no rhythm of desperation or poverty-driven chaos. Instead, violence appears in bursts, isolated, brutal, and then erased. Police response times are fast but incomplete. Certain districts are ignored entirely, as if unofficially written off. And above it all, Supes drift lazily through the sky. They don't patrol. They don't intervene, unless there's publicity involved. Batman notes the pattern immediately. Crime spike where cameras aren't present. This isn't negligence. It's policy. The Batsuit's scanners adjust to unfamiliar frequencies, intercepting police chatter and encrypted corporate channels. One name repeats more than any other. Vought. Every incident flows upward. Every response is filtered. Batman understands now. This city doesn't answer to law enforcement. It answers to shareholders. The first scream cuts through the noise at 1:37 a.m. It comes from 3 blocks away, sharp, terrified, real. No cameras, no drones, no Supes. Batman moves. He drops from the rooftop without hesitation, cape snapping as he vanishes into the night. He lands silently behind a convenience store, following the sound of breaking glass and drunken laughter. A robbery is in progress, but it's already gone wrong. Two men lie bleeding on the floor. The third is pinned against the counter by something far worse than a criminal. A soup, low tier. No costume, no logo, just glowing veins and twitching hands. His eyes are unfocused, his breathing erratic. Compound V has turned him into something stronger, but not something stable. The clerk begs, the soup laughs. Batman acts before the laugh ends. A batarang slices through the air, embedding itself in the soup's wrist. The man howls, releasing the clerk. Smoke fills the room, lights shatter. The Dark Knight appears from nowhere, striking fast, precision blows to joints, pressure points, nerves. The soup swings wildly, stronger than human, faster too, but sloppy. Batman adapts in seconds. He redirects momentum, uses the environment, shelves, walls, counters. He shocks the soup's nervous system with a calibrated taser burst, tuned higher than human tolerance. The soup collapses, convulsing. Batman stands over him, scanning vitals, elevated heart rate, chemical instability, genetic markers flashing across his visor. This isn't mutation. It's engineering. Compound V. Artificial powers. Artificial gods. Batman restrains the soup and vanishes before police arrive. By the time sirens reach the scene, the Dark Knight is already gone, another mystery swept into the cracks of the city. From a nearby rooftop, Bruce processes the data. Powers here aren't the result of evolution, magic, or alien biology. They're manufactured, injected, controlled by dosage and profit margins. That changes everything. In Gotham, crime is chaotic, but it's human. Even its monsters are reflections of pain, trauma, obsession. Here, power is commodified, sold, distributed like a weapon. That makes this world more dangerous, because you can't reason with a system that profits from suffering. Batman moves again, higher now, farther from the noise. He watches a soup deliberately ignore a domestic assault because there's no camera nearby. He sees police officers stand down when a corporate convoy rolls through a neighborhood like an occupying force. This isn't corruption. It's design. Bruce feels the familiar weight settle on his shoulders, the burden of understanding a city that doesn't want to be saved. This isn't Gotham. There's no crime boss at the top. No single madman pulling strings. There's a corporation, and gods who answer to it. By dawn, Batman has mapped dozens of crimes, dozens of failures, dozens of lies. And yet no one knows he was there, no headlines, no press conference, no applause. That's exactly how he wants it. This world already has too many false symbols. So Batman fades into the shadows, suppressing his digital footprint, masking his presence from Vought surveillance. He doesn't announce himself. He doesn't challenge the gods, not yet. Because Batman doesn't fight blindly. He studies. He adapts. He prepares. And as the sun rises over a city that believes it's protected, the Dark Knight makes a decision that will change this universe forever. He will stay hidden. For now. Vought International sees everything. Or at least that's what it tells the world. Every street corner, every rooftop, every civilian phone camera, data streams endlessly into Vought servers where reality is filtered, edited, and repackaged into something safe, something profitable. Chaos is bad for business. That's why the video shouldn't exist. It appears online at 9:12 a.m., buried beneath cat clips and celebrity scandals. 30 seconds long, shaky, low resolution, easy to dismiss. A shadow drops from above. A man in black moves faster than the camera can follow. A soup, glowing, enhanced, arrogant, charges him and is dismantled in seconds. No flashy powers, no explosions, just precision, fear, Silence. Then the figure vanishes. The clip ends. Within minutes, it's mirrored, shared, slowed down, analyzed frame by fans who live for secrets the world isn't supposed to see. By 9:19 a.m., Vaught's internal alarms trigger. Deep inside Vought Tower, analysts flood into the surveillance division. Screens light up with red flags, unregistered activity, anomalous movement patterns, combat efficiency well beyond normal human capability. But no compound Vi signature. That's the problem. They run the footage through facial recognition. Nothing. Biometric databases, nothing. Thermal scans. The figure bleeds like a man but fights like something else. No branding. No sponsorship. No approval. An unowned variable. Panic spreads, not loud but quiet. Corporate panic. The kind that doesn't scream but tightens jaws and shortens sentences. Someone whispers the word no one wants to say. Vigilante. In this world, that word is dangerous. Because vigilantes can't be controlled. They don't answer to contracts. They don't care about optics. And worst of all, they don't follow scripts. A junior analyst pulls up the city map. The figures appeared in 3 separate locations in one night. Always in areas without cameras, always doing incidents that never made the news. It looks intentional. Meanwhile, 2 floors above, Homelander lounges in a private screening room, boots on the table, half watching a rerun of his latest interview. His smile flickers as an aide nervously approaches. "There's something trending, sir." Homelander watches the clip once. Then he laughs, a sharp, dismissive sound. "A guy in a Halloween costume beat up a junkie Supe," he scoffs. "That's it." He leans closer, eyes narrowing, not in fear but irritation. "No powers, no lasers, no flight. Just some edgelord with gadgets." He waves a hand. "Delete it. The fans will forget by lunch." But as Homelander turns back to the screen, his smile fades for just a moment. Because something about the footage bothers him. The man didn't posture, didn't hesitate, it didn't flinch. And worst of all, he wasn't afraid. In another room, quieter, darker, and far more dangerous, Stan Edgar reviews the same clip in silence. No reaction, no emotion, just calculation. Edgar doesn't see a man in a mask. He sees disruption. An element outside the system, a threat not because of strength, but because of unpredictability. Edgar knows power. He knows leverage. And this figure has neither to exploit, which makes him dangerous. "Run it again," Edgar says calmly. The analysts obey. Edgar notices what Homelander missed. The efficiency, the targeting, the way the vigilante avoids killing, but doesn't hesitate to break bones. The way he disappears just before authorities arrive. This isn't chaos, it's discipline. "And he has no V in his system?" Edgar asks. "None," an analyst replies. "We've confirmed it, baseline human." Edgar exhales slowly. "A human who hunts Supes. That cannot be allowed." Edgar stands, adjusting his cufflinks like a man preparing for a board meeting, not a war. "Find out who he is," he orders, "where he came from, how he operates." "And if we can't?" someone asks. Edgar's eyes harden. "Then contain him." Across the city, digital filters scrub the footage from mainstream platforms. Algorithms bury it. Fact-checkers label it misinformation. Vought-controlled news outlets spin a new story, an unstable Supe subdued by private security. The public nods and moves on. But Vought does not. Satellites reposition. Facial recognition thresholds are adjusted. Every shadow becomes suspect. Every anomaly is flagged. Because Vought understands one terrifying truth. This vigilante isn't trying to be seen. He's trying to hunt. And somewhere in the darkness of a city that thinks it's protected, Batman watches the watchers, unaware that he has just drawn the attention of the most powerful corporation on Earth. A corporation that doesn't tolerate competition or justice. Billy Butcher hates mornings. They're loud, they're honest, and they remind him the world didn't end the way it should have. Somewhere in a forgotten part of the city, beneath flickering fluorescent lights and the constant hum of old machinery, Butcher loads a shotgun with practiced irritation. Another day, another soup. On a cracked monitor across the room, live footage rolls. An underground soup fight club, the kind Vought pretends doesn't exist. Enhanced nobodies tearing each other apart for cash and drugs, no cameras, no PR team, just blood. Perfect hunting ground. Target's name is Silver Kincaid, Mother's Milk says, scrolling through intel. Low-tier telekinetic, short temper, even shorter leash. Butcher grins. Lovely. Let's go say hello. The plan is simple, it always is. Get close, get dirty, make it hurt. But before they can move, Huey clears his throat. Guys? They all turn. Huey's staring at his laptop, like it just spoke to him. His fingers hover over the trackpad, uncertain. You might want to see this. On the screen, a paused video frame, grainy, shaky, unmistakable, a dark figure mid-motion, cape blurred like smoke, a soup frozen in terror. Silence fills the room. Frenchie leans in first, eyes wide with something dangerously close to excitement. Mon Dieu, look at the form. He moves like a soldier. No, like something trained to kill but choosing not to. Squints. That's not any soup I've seen. No V signature, no glow, no theatrics. Butcher watches without expression. Huey hits play. The room fills with the sound of chaos. Glass breaking, a soup screaming, then silence. The figure disappears into darkness like he was never there. Huey swallows. People online are calling him the Bat. Frenchie chuckles. Of course they are. Folds his arms. Could be fake, deep fake. Vaught's been testing that tech. Butcher doesn't laugh. He rewinds the clip, slows it down, watches the soup's attack fail, watches the counter, watches the precision. That's not Vought. Vought doesn't do subtle. They want us chasing ghosts now, Butcher mutters. Throw a spooky vigilante into the mix. Keep everyone distracted while they bury another massacre. But, Huey hesitates, what if it's real? That's when Butcher looks at him, really looks at him. Then that bloke's already dead. The room goes quiet. Frenchie breaks the tension. Or he's very, very interesting. Frenchie pulls up a freeze frame, zooming in on the suit. No logos, no sponsors, no merch-ready design, matte black, functional old school. He's not showing off, Frenchie says. No cameras, no interviews, no social media presence. That alone makes him different. Shakes his head. Different gets you killed. Butcher exhales through his nose, rubbing his beard. You know what I hate most, he says? Hope. Every time some new hero pops up, people start believing again. He jabs a finger at the screen. And believing gets people killed. Huey speaks softly. But what if he's not like them? Butcher doesn't answer right away. Instead, he opens another file. Vought activity reports, surveillance shifts, increased patrols, suppressed leaks. Vaught's scared, says quietly. That changes everything. Vought doesn't panic over street trash. It doesn't scramble assets unless something threatens to control. And whatever this Bat is, Vought didn't make him. which means they can't own him. Frenchie smiles. If Vought hates him, maybe we shouldn't. Butcher finally smirks, but there's no humor in it. Or maybe he's the perfect trap. He stands there grabbing his coat. Either way, we don't let Vought get to him first. Huey looks up. You want to help him? Butcher pauses at the door. No, he says flatly. I want to know what he is, where he came from, and whether he's another Supe in disguise or something far worse. The decision settles over them like a storm cloud. They're going hunting again. Not for a Supe, but for a shadow. And somewhere in the darkness of a city that eats secrets for breakfast, Batman moves unseen, unaware that two forces are now racing toward him. One wants to control him. The other wants to kill him. And neither is known for mercy. The operation was supposed to be clean. A nighttime rescue. Cameras positioned in advance, civilians already evacuated. A controlled explosion to justify the spectacle. Another win for the Seven. Another headline, another spike in merchandise sales. Batman sees through it immediately. From the shadows of a half-finished high-rise, he watches Vaught's choreography unfold like a badly rehearsed play. Floodlights snap on. News drones hover into position. A scripted threat waits below, handpicked to look dangerous but manageable. This isn't hero work. It's marketing. Batman moves anyway. Because even fake rescues create real victims. He slips through restricted access points, bypassing security with tools designed to defeat militaries, not rent-a-cops. The Batsuit dampens sound, blends with darkness, erases his presence from thermal scans. To everyone watching from the outside, the operation proceeds exactly as planned. Inside the building, Batman uncovers the truth. The threat is a group of trafficked civilians, planted explosives strapped to them, dead man switches wired into their heartbeats. Vought insurance paperwork already signed, losses accounted for. Batman's jaw tightens. He disarms the first device in seconds. That's when Black Noir stops moving. Noir had been standing still, helmet tilted slightly downward, waiting for his cue. He doesn't turn toward Batman. He doesn't speak. He just tilts his head. The silence shifts. Noir senses something wrong, not with his eyes, but with instinct. A trained predator recognizing another predator in the dark. His hand twitches towards his blade. Batman freezes. For a single breath, two shadows share the same space. Then everything explodes. Batman strikes first, smoke grenades detonating, plunging the floor into darkness. He moves like a phantom, targeting joints, cutting tendons, disrupting balance. Noir responds instantly, fast, brutal, inhumanly precise. Blades flash, armor sparks. They collide in silence, trading blows that would kill normal men. Batman adapts on the fly, analyzing Noir's movements, realizing with dawning concern. Noir doesn't feel pain. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't tire. Batman switches tactics, sonic pulses, flash charges, electric shock rounds. Noir staggers but doesn't fall. Instead, he lunges, driving Batman through a concrete pillar. Pain flares through Bruce's side. A rib cracks. He grunts, but keeps moving. Because this fight isn't about winning. It's about surviving. Alarms blare as the rest of the Seven react. Starlight powers up instinctively. Maeve charges forward. A-Train blurs through the smoke, too fast to track. Batman knows he's out of time. He triggers a secondary blast, controlled, directional, collapsing part of the floor. Civilians fall through emergency netting he deployed seconds earlier. The Seven stumble, momentarily disoriented. Batman dives after them, not down, but away. A grappling line snaps taut, yanking him into open air as the building erupts behind him in carefully contained chaos. He swings hard, slamming into an adjacent rooftop, rolling across gravel and glass. His vision blurs. Blood drips inside the cowl. By the time Homelander arrives, it's over. He hovers above the ruins, cape billowing, eyes scanning the scene. Cameras surround him, broadcasting outrage and heroism in equal measure. "Where is he?" Homelander demands. Noir stands silently beside him, helmet scratched, suit torn, gone. Homelander's jaw tightens. This wasn't supposed to happen. No one escapes the Seven. No one bleeds them and walks away. No one makes him look late. High above, Batman crouches in the rain, gripping his side as diagnostics flood his visor. Internal injuries, structural damage, limited mobility. But he's alive. And more importantly, he's learned something vital. The Seven are powerful, but they are not united, not disciplined, not prepared for real opposition. As Batman vanishes into the night once more, Homelander watches the city below with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. For the first time in years, someone has entered his world without permission. Someone who doesn't kneel. Someone who doesn't fear gods. Someone who ran and survived. Homelander clenches his fists, cracking the air around him. "Oh," he whispers, "I'm going to enjoy killing you." And in the darkness between them, obsession is born. Batman does not lick his wounds. He learns from them. Hidden beneath the city inside an abandoned transit hub, sealed off years ago and forgotten by corporate maps, Bruce Wayne removes his cowl. Blood stains the edge of the suit. His ribs scream with every breath, but his eyes are calm, focused, already replaying the fight frame by frame. The Seven were stronger than expected, but strength was never the problem. On a cracked holographic display projected from his gauntlet, 7 figures rotate slowly, rendered in wireframe and data overlays. Power readings, behavioral patterns, psychological markers, not gods. Weapons, and poorly maintained ones. Batman begins where the danger is greatest. Homelander. The data alone would terrify most men. Near limitless strength, flight, heat vision capable of slicing armored vehicles in half, near invulnerability. But Batman looks past the numbers to the man underneath, or rather the absence of one. Homelander's psychological profile fills the screen. Extreme narcissism, pathological need for approval, emotional volatility buried beneath manufactured confidence. A god raised in a laboratory, praised but never loved. Batman exhales slowly. Homelander doesn't fight to protect. He fights to be worshipped. That makes him predictable. Batman notes the micro-expressions from interviews, the way Homelander reacts to delayed applause, to criticism, to moments where attention shifts away from him. Rage spikes, control slips, the mask cracks. Power without identities, strength without self-control. Batman marks him in red, not because he's unbeatable, because he's unstable. Next, Queen Maeve. The profile changes immediately. Power remains high, but behavior shifts, hesitation, moral conflict, guilt. Batman overlays footage. Maeve turning away during civilian casualties, lingering looks, clenched fists hidden behind rehearsed smiles. Maeve knows what she's part of, and she hates herself for it. That guilt makes her dangerous in a different way, not as an enemy, but as a potential variable. She drinks, she self-destructs, she follows orders, not out of loyalty but exhaustion. Batman flags her in yellow, a possible ally, or a tragic casualty. Then there's Black Noir. Batman pauses longer here. Noir's file is thin. No public interviews, no scandals, no personal life. just obedience. Mission after mission executed with surgical precision, no hesitation, no deviation, no identity. Batman replays their fight. Noir's lack of reaction to pain, his willingness to die if ordered, the way he never questioned the objective, even when civilians were involved. Noir isn't loyal. He's programmed. That makes him the most dangerous of them all. Not because he thinks, but because he doesn't. Batman marks him in black, a weapon that cannot be reasoned with. The others follow quickly. A-Train, arrogance masking insecurity, addiction, recklessness, speed without foresight. Starlight, genuine morality crushed under pressure, fear disguised as compliance, a conscience slowly being strangled. The Deep, insecurity so profound it borders on delusion, power irrelevant compared to fragility. Batman leans back, pain flaring, but his mind sharp. Individually, they are terrifying. Together, they are a liability. They don't trust each other. They don't share a code. They don't believe in justice. They believe in contracts. And that realization changes everything. Batman overlays a final data point, Vought. Every Supes behavior traces back to corporate influence, PR pressure, image management, damage control. Their morality isn't shaped by values, but by branding. They don't ask, is this right? They ask, will this look good? Batman closes his eyes. In Gotham, he fights criminals born of chaos. Here, he faces monsters born of design. And design systems always have flaws. Bruce opens his eyes, already forming contingencies, psychological warfare, isolation, misdirection, exposure. Not to kill, but to dismantle. Because gods don't fall when you challenge their power. They fall when you expose their weakness. Batman finishes the analysis with a final conclusion, one that chills even him. The Seven are not heroes. They are not villains. They are unstable weapons, handed to a corporation that values profit over humanity. And someone like Homelander? He's not a king. He's a bomb. Bruce stands slowly, grimacing, pulling the cowl back over his face. Somewhere above him, the Seven believe they are hunting a man. They are wrong. Batman doesn't hunt gods. He prepares for them. And soon, he will make them bleed. Batman knows he's being hunted. Not by gods in capes, but by people who bleed. That realization comes not from sensors or surveillance, but from instinct. The kind forged over years of being hunted himself. The kind that tells him the shadows have changed. The city's rhythm is off. Someone is watching the watcher. He lets it happen. The ambush is set in a derelict subway station, abandoned after a cost-saving initiative quietly pushed through by Vought years earlier. Rusted tracks, crumbling concrete. Darkness thick enough to swallow sound. Perfect. Batman drops from an overhead beam and lands silently. That's when the lights explode. Floodlights flare to life, blinding white. A concussive blast rips through the station, throwing Batman off his feet. He rolls, absorbing the impact just as gunfire tears into the space he occupied seconds earlier. "Welcome to the neighborhood, mate." Billy Butcher steps forward through the smoke, crowbar in hand, grin sharp enough to cut glass. The fight is immediate, no speeches, no hesitation. Mother's Milk opens fire with rubberized, armor-piercing rounds. Frenchie triggers a flashbang tuned to overload enhanced senses. Huey freezes, panic flickering across his face, but he stays put. Batman moves like a ghost under gunfire. He disarms MM in 2 seconds, twisting the rifle away, using it to knock Frenchie back before planting a knee into Butcher's chest that sends him skidding across concrete. Butcher laughs as he rolls to his feet. Oh, I like this one. He charges. Batman meets him head-on. The crowbar clangs against reinforced gauntlets. Bruce counters with precision strikes, breaking grip, disrupting balance, targeting nerves. Butcher is strong, tough, desperate. Batman is disciplined. Within moments, Frenchie is pinned to the wall, weapon dismantled. MM lies stunned, gasping. Huey stares in disbelief as Batman stands between them, breathing steady, posture controlled. Butcher wipes blood from his lip and grins wider. Right, so you're not Vaught's. Batman says nothing. Butcher steps closer. Because if you were, we'd already be dead. The tension hangs heavy. Batman scans them again, not as threats, but as variables. No Compound 5. No enhanced physiology, just human rage and ingenuity, dangerous in their own way. What do you want? Batman finally asks. His voice is calm, controlled, inhumanly steady. Butcher snorts. Funny. I was going to ask you the same. They circle each other, two predators sizing up the kill. The air hums with unspoken violence. You're hunting Supes, Butcher continues, unlicensed, unapproved. That makes you either very brave or very stupid. Batman doesn't blink. And you are? Butcher smiles. The clean-up crew. Frenchie coughs, rubbing his throat. He means we kill the ones who don't make the news. That lands. Batman's posture shifts, not relaxed, but attentive. MM pushes himself up slowly. We've been watching Vought for years. They lie, they kill. They own the system. Batman nods once to Anna. The admission surprises them. Huey finally finds his voice. You took down a Supe. Without powers. Batman turns toward him. Powers aren't the problem. Butcher laughs again, but this time there's something different in it. Curiosity. You sound like us. I'm not, Batman replies flatly. That earns a scowl. Right. You wear a cape. You beat people in the dark. What makes you different? Batman steps closer, close enough that Butcher can feel the weight of him. I don't work for them, Batman says, and I don't enjoy it. Silence follows. The hatred is the same. That's what Butcher sees now, different methods. Same fire. But you don't kill, Butcher says quietly. No. Butcher scoffs. Then you're gonna get yourself killed. Maybe. Batman glances around the station. Vought is escalating. Homelander is unstable. If you stay independent, you won't survive long. Butcher narrows his eyes. That a threat? It's a fact. Another beat, then Butcher laughs softly, shaking his head. Bloody hell, he mutters. A moral vigilante in a world of monsters. He extends a hand, not in friendship, but acknowledgement. Temporary truce, he says, until one of us screws it up. Batman looks at the hand and then shakes it once. Uneasy, he says, but it's enough. Because in this world of gods and corporations, something far more dangerous has just formed. An alliance built on truth and war. Homelander does not sleep. He listens. High above the city, floating just beyond the reach of clouds, he closes his eyes and lets the noise pour in. Heartbeats, sirens, whispers, lies. Every sound folds into him like a choir begging for judgment. And somewhere in that noise is silence. The Bat. No cameras, no cheers, no fear-scented screams, just absence. A blind spot in a world Homelander believes he owns. That's when something inside him breaks. It starts small, a clenched jaw, a twitch behind the smile he wears for the public. In the Vought Tower briefing room, executives speak carefully. voices wrapped in corporate calm. "We're still investigating," one of them says. "There's no confirmed identity." Homelander turns slowly. "No," he says softly. "You're failing." The room goes quiet. The man who spoke swallows. "Sir, we're doing everything." Homelander is on him in an instant. One hand closes around the man's face, not crushing, not yet. Just enough pressure to feel the heat of bone beneath skin. "You don't do everything," Homelander whispers, smiling. "You do what I allow." Then he squeezes. There's a wet crack. The body drops, blood splashes across the marble floor. Vought security cameras blink off in that wing of the tower, seconds before the alarms would have gone off. By the time the footage returns, the body is gone. The room is clean. The official report cites a medical emergency. Homelander doesn't care. He takes to the streets, not like a hero, like a predator. Anyone who's ever whispered about the Bat becomes a potential target. A cameraman who hesitated during a debrief, a tech who asked the wrong question, a street-level Supe who bragged too loudly. Homelander doesn't interrogate. He listens. And when he hears lies, or worse, ignorance, he kills. Sometimes quickly, sometimes not. In alleyways where no one looks, in midair where no one hears screams over the wind. Bodies vanish, rumors spread. Fear returns to the city like a long-forgotten disease. But the public sees none of it. Vought scrambles, editing reality in real time. News cycles shift, tragedies rebranded. Homelander appears on morning shows, smiling, promising safety. Behind the scenes, he's unraveling. Because the Bat is still out there. Homelander watches footage again and again, slowed down, enhanced, paused on frames where the shadow moves. He stares at it like it's mocking him. The Bat didn't beg, didn't scream, didn't kneel. Worse, he ran and lived. Homelander slams his fist through a wall, teeth bared. The sound echoes through empty halls. "I let him go," he mutters. "That won't happen again." This isn't about control anymore. It's personal. He stops delegating, stops waiting for reports. Homelander becomes the hunt. He patrols at night, not for cameras, but for shadows. His senses stretch across the city, filtering everything for the one thing he hates most: defiance. He listens for controlled breathing, for heartbeats that don't spike when he passes overhead, for movement that avoids light instead of chasing it. This isn't a chase. It's a nightmare. People start disappearing, Supes and civilians alike, anyone who might know something, anyone who might be something. Batman feels it before he sees it. The city's tone changes, fear sharpens, crimes stop, not because they're prevented, but because no one dares move. The sky becomes something to hide from. And somewhere above it all, Homelander smiles. "Come out," he whispers into the night. "Let's see what you're made of." The hunt has begun. Not a corporate operation, not a PR stunt. A god hunting a man. And in that imbalance, the city holds its breath, unaware that the darkest hour is still to come. Batman has seen broken cities before. Gotham taught him what desperation looks like, what fear does to people when hope rots from the inside. But this city, this world, breaks people differently. Here, suffering wears a smile. The call comes in the early hours of the morning, not from police channels, not from Vaught's filtered feeds. It comes from a hospital emergency line, one Frenchie hacked weeks ago, flagged for incidents that never make the news. 3 children, critical condition. Cause soup-related accident. Batman arrives before the ambulances finish unloading. The hallway smells like antiseptic and blood. Nurses move fast, eyes trained to look away from the details. Bruce watches through a glass window as doctors work on a small boy, burns tracing across his arms in patterns that no fire should make. Heat vision. A training demonstration gone wrong. The Supe walked away. Vought paid the parents. The footage was destroyed. Batman's hands curl into fists. Another room, another child, crushed ribs, internal bleeding. A careless shove from someone who forgot their own strength. A third room, empty. The child didn't make it. Bruce closes his eyes, but the images don't fade. They never do. That's the cost of caring. That's the burden he chose. When he steps back into the alley behind the hospital, Butcher is waiting. He doesn't need to ask what Batman saw. "Let me guess," Butcher says quietly. "Collateral damage." Batman doesn't respond. Butcher lights a cigarette with shaking hands. "This is why we do it. This is why we end them." Batman turns, eyes burning beneath the cowl. "You don't end injustice by becoming it." Butcher laughs bitterly. "That's rich, coming from a bloke who breaks bones for a living." Batman steps closer. "I don't kill." "Yeah," Butcher snaps. "And how's that working out?" The words hang heavy. Butcher gestures toward the hospital. "Kids like that don't get justice. They get graves. Homelander walks free because no one has the stones to put him down." Batman's voice lowers. "Killing him won't fix this system." "It'll stop him," Butcher fires back. "One monster gone is better than none." Batman shakes his head. "You kill him, you prove his point." That stops Butcher cold. Batman continues, voice steady but strained. "Homelander believes power makes you right. That strength is permission. If I cross that line, if I decide he deserves to die because I can kill him, then I become exactly what he is." Silence follows. Butcher exhales smoke, eyes dark. "You think morals matter to a god?" "They matter to me," Batman replies. "That's the difference." Batman looks back toward the hospital. This world doesn't need another executioner. It needs accountability, truth, something that doesn't disappear when the blood dries. Butcher scoffs. "Truth doesn't scare monsters." Batman meets his gaze. "Exposure does." For a moment, Butcher considers it. Really considers it. Then he shakes his head. "You're dreaming," he says. "There's no cage that holds Homelander." Batman doesn't argue, because he isn't thinking about cages. He's thinking about limits, about how every time he refuses to kill, the world tests him harder, pushes him closer to the edge, dares him to abandon the one rule that separates him from the criminals he hunts. Later that night, alone on a rooftop, Batman watches the city breathe beneath of him. Somewhere out there, Homelander is hunting. Somewhere else, children are being hurt because no one stops gods. Bruce's jaw tightens. He could end it. One plan, one lethal contingency, one choice. But he doesn't. Because Batman was never about winning. He was about standing where others won't. Holding the line, when it would be easier to cross it. Being the one who refuses, even when refusal costs everything. "If I cross that line," Bruce whispers into the night, "I become him. And this world already has too many gods. What it lacks is justice." Vought doesn't argue with morality. It exploits it. By sunrise, the plan is already in motion, quiet, efficient, hidden behind paperwork and plausible deniability. No press releases, no capes in the sky, just vans without logos pulling people off the streets where cameras don't reach. The missing aren't important people. That's the point. Homeless veterans, undocumented workers, kids from foster homes that lost funding years ago, people whose names don't trend, people the system has already erased once. Batman realizes it too late. The pattern emerges on his screens like a wound opening, disappearances clustered around his last known sightings. Vought isn't hunting him. They're baiting him. Butcher slams a fist into the table when the intel comes through. Bloody cowards, he snarls, using civilians like chum. Batman is already moving. Maps, timelines, transport routes. They want me contained, he says, not dead. Yet, MM mutters. Frenchie pulls up schematics. They're holding them off-grid. Old pharmaceutical test site, reinforced, shielded. Batman's eyes narrow. That's a kill box. Butcher grins grimly. Then we don't walk in like idiots. Batman doesn't smile back. Because Vought isn't improvising. They're anticipating. As Batman prepares, Vought deploys assets they've been saving. Enhanced Supes, not celebrities, not faces the public would miss. Prototype operatives with unstable powers and minimal oversight, stronger than street level, less controllable than the Seven. Disposable. The facility lights up as Batman approaches. Automated defenses engaged. Turrets track movement that isn't there. Drones swarm shadows. Batman was never there. He enters from below, through sewage tunnels Vought didn't bother upgrading. He disables power relays one by one, plunging sections of the compound into darkness. Supes respond chaotically, colliding with each other, overreacting to phantom threats. Batman planned for this. Smoke fills corridors, sonic pulses, disorient enhanced senses. EMP bursts knock out Vought tech mid-fight. He moves fast, too fast for cameras, too precise for chaos. Cells open. Civilians run, then Vought adapts. They release Subject 12. A towering figure steps into the central hall, skin hardened like concrete, eyes vacant. No personality, no fear. Just orders burned into his nervous system. Stop the bat. The fight is brutal. Batman's strikes barely stagger the Supe. Every hit feels like punching a wall. Subject 12 swings once, sending Batman crashing through a steel door. Pain explodes through his shoulder. Something tears. Batman grits his teeth and keeps moving. He uses everything, environment, momentum, gravity, lures the Supe beneath a structural support and collapses the ceiling on him. The building shakes. Dust fills the air. Batman doesn't wait to see if it worked, and he runs. Civilians funnel toward the exit until gunfire erupts. Not Supes. Private security. Vought mercenaries panic. Orders contradict. Someone pulls a trigger they shouldn't have. A woman goes down. Then another. Batman turns back too slow. Butcher is already there, dragging a wounded man behind cover. "They're executing them!" he shouts. Batman moves to intervene and freezes. A child stands in the open, crying, frozen by fear. A sniper's laser dots her chest. Batman throws himself forward. The shot rings out. Batman collides with the girl, shielding her, as the bullet tears through his side instead. He hits the ground hard, vision flashing white. The child screams. MM fires back, taking down the sniper, but it's already over. Frenchie kneels beside another body. He doesn't need to say it. She's dead. No spin. No rewrite. No undo. Vaught's message is clear. Batman saves lives. Vought ends them. Alarms blare as the facility locks down. Homelander's voice echoes over loudspeakers, calm and amused. "See what happens when you don't play by the rules." Batman forces himself up, blood soaking into his suit. He looks at the bodies, at the survivors, at the cost. This wasn't a warning. It was a declaration of war. As they escape into the night, wounded, shaken, changed, Batman understands something has shifted forever. Vought crossed a line, and someone paid for it with their life. There will be no clean victories from here on out. Only consequences. The sky screams before the first punch lands. A sonic boom tears across the rooftops as Homelander descends like judgment made flesh. Concrete shattering beneath his boots. Wind howls, windows implode, sirens wail in distant protest. Batman doesn't move. He stands alone on the edge of an abandoned industrial complex, chosen carefully. Steel scaffolding, narrow walkways, fuel lines, shadows thick enough to hide in. Every inch of the battlefield mapped, measured, prepared. Homelander smiles. "There you are," he says, voice echoing with effortless authority. "I was getting bored." Batman doesn't respond. The silence annoys Homelander more than insults ever could. "You know," Homelander continues, drifting closer, "everyone else screams, begs, you're different. That makes you interesting." Then he moves. The first hit comes too fast to block. Homelander's fist slams into Batman's chest, launching him through a concrete wall like a discarded toy. The Batsuit absorbs some of the impact, but not enough. Bones crack. Air explodes from Bruce's lungs. He rolls, barely regaining his feet before Homelander is there again. Another blow, another wall, another fracture. Batman is completely outmatched. This isn't a fight. It's an execution. Homelander grabs Batman by the throat, lifting him effortlessly off the ground. Heat vision ignites, red eyes burning inches from the cowl. "Any last words?" Homelander sneers. Batman triggers the first trap. A sonic charge detonates point blank, tuned to overload Homelander's enhanced hearing. The shockwave tears through the structure. Homelander roars, releasing Batman as he stumbles back, clutching his head. Batman hits the ground hard, but he's already moving. Smoke grenades fill the air. Grappling lines snap. Explosives detonate, collapsing walkways and forcing Homelander into tight corridors where his flight is limited. This is Batman's element. He strikes from the dark, hit and run, flash, disappear, not to hurt but to confuse, to frustrate, to test limits. Homelander smashes through steel beams, laughing between bursts of rage. "Is this it?" he shouts. "Tricks?" Batman answers with fear. Projected images flicker across the smoke. Homelander's own face distorted. Audio playback echoes fragments of his worst moments, screams, lab recordings, voices that raised him, studied him, never loved him. Homelander hesitates. Just for a second. Batman uses it. He triggers the environment, fuel lines ignite, forcing Homelander back. Magnetized cables snap tight, anchoring him momentarily to the ground. Batman unloads everything he has. Electrical pulses, sonic bursts, high-caliber kinetic rounds designed not to kill, but to disrupt. It isn't enough. Homelander tears free with a scream of pure fury, heat vision carving the battlefield apart. Batman barely dodges, the edge of the beam slicing across his shoulder, burning through armor and flesh. Pain blinds him. Homelander slams him into the ground, cracking the earth beneath them. "You're nothing," Homelander growls, "just a man pretending to matter." Batman coughs blood. Then he looks up and smiles. "Exactly," he says. That's when Homelander sees it. Fear isn't there. Not in the heartbeat beneath his grip, not in the eyes behind the mask. Not in the way Batman keeps fighting, despite knowing he can't win. Batman isn't trying to defeat him. He's trying to understand him. That realization enrages Homelander more than resistance ever could. He throws Batman aside like trash, hovering above him, breathing hard. For a moment, he considers killing him right there. But something stops him. Curiosity. "You're not scared," Homelander says slowly. Batman struggles to his feet, every movement agony. "No," he replies, "I'm prepared." Sirens grow louder, cameras approach, Vaught's cleanup teams inbound. Homelander scowls. "This isn't over," he says. "I'm going to enjoy breaking you." Batman triggers the final contingency, a blinding flash and controlled collapse that sends him plunging into the darkness below as the structure caves in on itself. By the time Homelander clears the rubble, Batman is gone. Again. Homelander hovers in the wreckage, fists clenched, teeth bared. For the first time in his life, a man looked at him like a problem to solve, and that terrifies him. The city turns on Batman overnight. It starts with a headline. "Vigilante responsible for deadly Supes attack," blares across every screen. The footage plays on loop, edited, cropped, stripped of context. A dark figure. Explosions, bodies, no beginning, no truth. Just the ending Vought wants the world to see. By morning, the narrative is set. Batman isn't a protector. He isn't a mystery. He's a threat. Talk shows debate his existence like a disease. Pundits speculate. Influencers pile on. Vought spokespeople wear practiced concern as they promise transparency and safety from him. And the city believes it. Because it's easier to hate a shadow than question a god. Batman watches from a rooftop as crowds chant below, fear replacing curiosity. Protest signs twist his symbol into something monstrous. Police scanners light up with new directives. Engage on sight. Vought has spoken. The lie spreads fast, faster than truth ever does. Meanwhile, the boys are hunted. Safe houses burn, contacts disappear. Barely escapes a raid, bullets tearing through walls seconds after he leaves. Frenchie vanishes underground, cutting all signals. Huey runs, alone for the first time since joining them. And Butcher is gone, taken maybe, or hiding, or dead. Batman doesn't know. That uncertainty gnaws at him more than the hatred. This is what Vought does best. Isolate, divide, erase. They don't destroy enemies. They make them disappear until the world forgets they ever mattered. And for the first time since arriving in this universe, Batman feels it. The weight, the doubt. He limps through the ruins of an old church, ribs still healing, suit damaged beyond what his limited resources can repair. His systems are compromised. His allies are scattered. The city no longer hides him, it hunts him. Bruce removes his cowl, staring at the cracked reflection in a broken mirror. He looks tired, older. This world isn't Gotham. In Gotham, the system is corrupt, but it's human. It can be fought, it can be shamed, it can be challenged. Here, the system owns reality. Vought doesn't just rewrite laws. It rewrites truth. It turns heroes into brands and justice into content. It can bury a god's massacre beneath a viral video. How does one man fight that? Bruce accesses the last stable signal from his multiversal device. The anomaly that brought him here is fluctuating again, weak but present. A door, a way home, back to Gotham. Back to a world where his rules matter, where his war, however endless, at least makes sense. Bruce hesitates. He thinks of the children in the hospital, of the civilians strapped to bombs for ratings, of a city that has never known a real hero and doesn't even know it's missing one. Is this world worth saving? That question echoes louder than any siren. Above him, a drone buzzes past, Vought branded, scanning for heat signatures. Bruce pulls the cowl back on and fades into shadow, heart heavy. He could leave. No one here would blame him. They'd cheer his disappearance. Vought would spin it as a victory. Homelander would smile for the cameras, and the world would keep burning quietly. Batman grips the edge of the altar, knuckles white. He has fought monsters, he has fought gods. He has fought his own darkness more times than he can count. But fighting apathy, that's harder. That's what breaks you. Bruce stands there longer than he ever allows himself to, caught between duty and survival, between hope and futility. He is not needed here. He is not wanted here. And yet, a memory surfaces, Alfred's voice, calm, gentle. It's not about whether they deserve saving, Master Wayne. It's about whether you can walk away. Bruce exhales slowly. The answer settles, not with certainty, but with resolve. He may not save this world, but he will not abandon it. Not yet. Because if even one child is spared, if even one truth is exposed, if even one God is forced to answer for their crimes, then it's worth it. Batman steps back into the darkness, battered but unbroken, as the city above him celebrates his downfall. This is his darkest hour, and in the dark is where he has always been strongest. The cave is quiet. Not the living, breathing quiet of Gotham's Batcave, but something colder, borrowed, temporary. A bunker beneath a condemned subway station lined with stolen servers and humming generators, a place Bruce never meant to stay long. Yet here he is. Batman sits alone, armor stripped away piece by piece. The suit lies damaged, stained, cracked in places it was never meant to crack. His body aches, but that's not what weighs on him. It's the silence. In Gotham, silence always carried presence. Alfred's footsteps, the soft clink of porcelain. A voice asking if he'd eaten, if he'd slept, if tonight's wounds were worse than the ones he pretended not to have. Here, there is nothing. Bruce stares at the old drive in his hand, scratched, faded, a relic from another universe. He's carried it since the rift. Didn't know why. Maybe he was afraid of what was on it. Maybe he was afraid of what it would remind him of. He slots it into the terminal. Static flickers across the screen. Audio files populate the interface. Dates, notes, voice logs. Bruce hesitates, then presses play. Master Bruce, if you're hearing this, then I've either finally convinced you to back up your data properly, or something has gone terribly wrong. Alfred's voice fills the bunker. Steady, warm, alive. Bruce closes his eyes. You once asked me why I stayed, why I didn't leave after your parents died. The truth is, I watched a boy choose not to break. Images flash through Bruce's mind. Crime alley, blood on pavement, a promise whispered into darkness. You were never driven by vengeance, Alfred continues. You were driven by responsibility. Bruce's jaw tightens. The recording shifts. Another night, another wound. You call it a war, sir. You dress like one at least. But wars are about winning. Batman was never about that. Bruce opens his eyes. Batman exists because someone must stand when others fall. Because power must answer to something other than itself. The words hit harder than any punch Homelander ever threw. Bruce looks at his hands, scarred, trembling slightly. This world mocks that idea. Here power is worshipped, bought, packaged, excused. Heroes kill, lie, smile for cameras, and the world thanks them for it. This world doesn't believe in lines. You will lose people, Alfred's voice says softly. You already have, and there will be nights you wonder if the cost is too high. Bruce thinks of the woman in the facility, the child crying in his arms, the blood that wouldn't wash away. But if you ever cross that line, if you become judge, jury, and executioner, then the world loses something far rarer than hope. Bruce exhales slowly. It loses its conscience. Silence follows. Bruce lets it sit. For the first time since arriving in this universe, he allows himself to feel it all. The doubt, the anger, the grief, the exhaustion of standing alone in a world that doesn't want him. He realizes something then. Gotham didn't need Batman because it was broken. It needed Batman because it still believed it could be better. This world doesn't believe that, and maybe that's why he's here. Bruce straightens. He replays the last recording. Not to win, Master Bruce, Alfred says gently, but to stand, so that others don't have to fall. Bruce powers down the terminal. For the first time, his decision is clear. He isn't here to stop Homelander alone. He isn't here to dismantle Vought in a single night. He isn't here to fix this world. He's here to anchor it, to be the one thing it cannot spin, corrupt, or rebrand. A constant, a reminder, a line that does not move. Bruce stands and begins repairing the suit, reinforcing plates, adjusting systems, not for escape, for commitment. This isn't a mission anymore. It's a vow. As the bat symbol flickers to life on a cracked screen, Bruce whispers, not to Alfred, not to Gotham, but to this broken world. I'm not leaving. And somewhere in the dark, the world feels it. A man has chosen to stand. Batman does not prepare to kill gods. He prepares to outthink them. Deep beneath the city, inside a forgotten storm control facility, drowned by decades of neglect, Bruce Wayne rebuilds. Not armor, not weapons, plans. Layers of contingencies stacked atop one another like a silent argument against inevitability. On a cracked concrete wall, holographic schematics flicker to life. Homelander, primary threat. Bruce studies the projection without fear. Fear clouds judgment. What Homelander inspires isn't fear, it's certainty. The certainty that no one can stop him. Certainty is a weakness. Batman begins with psychology. Homelander's power isn't just physical, it's emotional dominance. The need to be adored, the terror of being ignored, the rage that surfaces when the applause fades even for a second. Batman overlays footage. Homelander's smile faltering during interviews. His jaw tightening when Maeve defies him, the momentary panic when a crowd doesn't cheer loudly enough. He needs to be seen, Bruce mutters, so we'll show him. The first layer of the protocol isn't a weapon. It's exposure. Batman programs data spikes, controlled leaks routed through anonymous channels, not accusations, proof, footage Vought buried, audio transcripts, civilian deaths edited out of the news, Homelander losing control when cameras weren't rolling. Truth won't defeat him, but it will destabilize him. Next, sensory disruption. Homelander's hearing is his greatest advantage and his most exploitable flaw. Batman calibrates sonic emitters to a frequency range that won't shatter glass, but will fracture concentration. Not pain, disorientation, enough to disrupt flight, aim, and emotional regulation. Batman doesn't need Homelander grounded. He needs him off balance. Chemical countermeasures follow. Not poison, not kryptonite analogues. Hormonal destabilizers, airborne compounds designed to spike adrenaline and cortisol simultaneously, controlled panic, amplified paranoia. The same chemicals Homelander's body floods itself with when he feels threatened. Batman weaponizes Homelander's own biology. "Tilt the board," Bruce whispers. "Let him knock over his own pieces." The final layer is tactical. Urban traps designed not to restrain but to corner. Narrow flight corridors, reinforced structures masked as abandoned buildings, magnetic tether systems disguised as infrastructure repairs. Everything looks normal, until it isn't. Batman steps back, analyzing the plan as a whole. No single measure can stop Homelander, but Batman has never relied on single solutions. This is orchestration, a symphony of pressure points, and at the center of it all, restraint. Batman programs fail-safes, automated cutoffs if vitals spike too high. Emergency dispersal if collateral risk rises. He refuses to let the city become the battlefield Homelander wants. This isn't an execution. It's an arrest. Bruce stares at the final line of code, hesitating only for a second before confirming it. "No lethal outcomes," he says aloud, as if the world itself is listening. Because killing Homelander would be easy. Ending him would be satisfying. But it would prove the lie this world believes, that power decides justice. Batman refuses to validate that lie. He seals the protocol. Anti-Homelander. Active. Somewhere above, Homelander smiles for a camera, unaware that the city beneath him has been transformed into a mirror, one that will finally show him what he really is. Not a god, not a hero, just a man who has never been told no. Batman pulls his cowl down, pain still echoing through his ribs, and disappears into the maze he's built. The hunt is about to end. Not with a corpse, but with the truth. Vought Tower was built to look untouchable. A blade of glass and steel cutting into the sky, towering above the city like a monument to control. Every floor guarded, every system encrypted, every secret buried beneath layers of lawyers, money, and fear. Tonight, that illusion dies. The attack begins without warning. Across the city, lights flicker. Traffic systems fail, emergency channels overload. Vaught's private servers, once sealed tighter than military vaults, begin hemorrhaging data into the open internet. Inside a moving van 3 blocks away, Huey's hands shake as code floods his screen. "It's working," he whispers. "Oh my God, it's actually working." Frenchie grins wildly, fingers dancing across detonators and signal boosters. "You see? I told you, nothing is unhackable. Only impatient." Mother's Milk watches the security feeds, jaw tight. "We've got 90 seconds before they reroute power and lock us out." Batman doesn't respond. He's already moving. From the darkness above, the Dark Knight descends onto the side of Vought Tower like a living shadow. Grapple lines anchor. EMP charges detonate in perfect sequence, killing internal surveillance for exactly 12 seconds. That's all he needs. Batman crashes through a maintenance window and disappears into the tower's spine as alarms begin to scream. Security teams mobilize, but they're not trained for this. Smoke floods corridors, lights die. Doors slam shut at random. Guards fall without seeing their attacker, dropped by nerve strikes and precision blows. This isn't a siege. It's a dismantling. At street level, chaos erupts. Phones buzz, screens light up. A live broadcast hijacks every major platform simultaneously. News networks, social media feeds, billboards. Vaught's secrets spill into the world. Contracts detailing paid cover-ups. Video footage of staged rescues. Settlements for dead civilians. Internal memos approving lethal force for brand preservation. Then the worst of it. Homelander. Uncut footage, raw screams, threats. The truth Vought buried beneath decades of spin now plays live for millions to see. People stop in the streets. Cars crash. Someone drops to their knees. "This can't be real," a woman whispers while watching a god smile as he kills. Inside the tower, executives panic. Servers are wiped too late. Kill switches fail. Stan Edgar's calm fractures for the first time as firewalls collapse one after another. "This was supposed to be impossible," someone says. Batman appears behind them. "It was," he replies. "You just underestimated how much you left exposed." Explosions ripple through the tower. Not catastrophic, but surgical. Data centers destroyed, private labs exposed, evidence physically dragged into the light. Meanwhile, the boys move fast. escorts trapped employees out, not out of mercy, but necessity. Frenchie rigs escape routes while laughing hysterically. Huey stares at the live feed, eyes wet as the truth finally breaks free. Outside, the city loses its mind. Protests ignite instantly. Cheers clash with screams. Supes flee. Police stand frozen, unsure who they're supposed to protect anymore. Vaught's lie collapses in real time. And above it all, Homelander sees it. Every screen, every face turning against him. For the first time, the applause stops. He roars, sonic fury shattering windows miles away, and launches toward the tower. Too late to stop what's already happening. Batman watches the data finalize. Upload complete. Truth delivered. He doesn't smile. Because this was never about victory. It was about exposure. As Vought Tower burns, not from flames, but from revelation, the world finally sees what's been hiding in plain sight. Gods exposed. Heroes unmasked. A system brought to its knees. The streets erupt into chaos, but also something else. Hope. Fragile, dangerous, uncontrolled. And in the eye of the storm, Batman vanishes once more, knowing the war isn't over. Because when gods fall, they don't go quietly. Homelander stands alone. For the first time in his life, truly alone. Vought Tower burns behind him, not in flames but in silence. Screens go dark one by one. Emergency lights flicker. The lies that once protected him collapse under their own weight, spilling secrets into the world faster than anyone can stop them. The contracts, the cover-ups, the massacres, all exposed. Homelander watches the feed scroll past on a shattered monitor. News anchors no longer smiling, commentators no longer careful. Words like monster, tyrant, liability replace hero and symbol. His jaw tightens. This wasn't supposed to happen. Vought was supposed to protect him. The public was supposed to love him. The world was supposed to need him. Instead, they're afraid. Again. A voice crackles through what's left of the tower's PA system. Stan Edgar's voice, calm even now. "This is where we part ways," Edgar says. "You were a product. Products get discontinued." Homelander's eyes glow red. In a single instant, the entire floor vaporizes. Concrete, steel, glass, gone. Edgar's voice cuts off mid-sentence, erased from existence like a bad idea. Homelander floats in the open air, breathing hard. Something inside him finally snaps. No more handlers. No more scripts. No more pretending. He rises into the sky, higher and higher, until the city becomes a map beneath his feet. Sirens wail, people scatter. Cameras follow instinctively, because even now the world can't look away. Homelander stops smiling. "Listen to me," he says, not to a crowd but to the world itself. His voice booms, carried by every broadcast still foolish enough to stay live. I gave you everything. His heat vision ignites, carving a line of molten destruction through a city block. Cars explode, buildings collapse, people run, but there's nowhere fast enough. I protected you. Another blast. A bridge collapses mid-traffic, screaming metal plunging into the river below. And this is how you repay me? There's no rage now, just certainty. Homelander descends into the streets like a god of wrath. He doesn't target criminals. He doesn't pretend it's justice. He destroys indiscriminately. Proof of power, proof of dominance. This is what he always was. The mask is gone. A tank rolls into position, futile and desperate. Homelander lands in front of it, places a hand on the barrel and crushes it like paper. The soldiers inside freeze, terror flooding their faces. Look at you, he says softly. So small. He lifts the tank and throws it through a skyscraper. Across the city, people watch in horror as their hero becomes their executioner. There's no spin now. No PR team fast enough, no narrative strong enough to contain what's happening. This isn't a mistake. This is the truth. Homelander rises again, hovering above the chaos, cape torn and scorched. Blood stains his suit, some his, most not. He looks down at the world like a disappointed parent. You wanted a monster, he says. Congratulations. In the distance, Batman watches. From a rooftop barely holding together, Bruce Wayne sees the transformation complete. This isn't a breakdown. This isn't a tantrum. This is liberation. Homelander has lost everything that kept him pretending to be human. And without those limits, he has become exactly what Bruce feared. Not a villain. A god who believes the world exists to kneel. Emergency broadcasts finally cut. Governments issue evacuation orders they know won't matter. Supes hide. Vought executives flee or beg or die. And the world finally understands. There were never heroes here, only power, waiting to stop pretending. Homelander tilts his head, listening to the screams, the prayers, the silence, where defiance used to be. See, he whispers, I told you. The age of lies is over, and the age of gods has begun. The sky burns red above Vought Tower, not from fire, but from ice. Homelander hovers at the center of it all, cape torn, smile gone, fury barely contained, beneath cracking composure. Below him the city watches. Phones raised, news drones circling. The world expects a god to pass judgment. Instead it witnesses something far more terrifying. Defiance. Batman steps out of the smoke. No dramatic entrance, no speech. Just a lone figure in black, standing his ground while the most powerful being on the planet floats above him like an executioner. Homelander laughs. The sharp, hollow sound. You really don't learn, do you? He says. I can tear you in half, right now. Everyone's watching. Batman doesn't look up. That's the problem, he replies calmly. You need them watching. That lands harder than any punch. Homelander's smile twitches. You think this is about attention? His eyes glow brighter. I am attention. Batman finally looks up, and there's no fear in his eyes, only understanding. No, Batman says. You're about approval. Silence ripples through the air. Homelander descends slightly, boots touching down hard enough to crack concrete. Say that again. Batman activates a device on his gauntlet. Screens across the city, billboards, phones, emergency broadcasts flicker to life. Footage plays, unedited, unfiltered. Homelander's murders, his threats, his meltdowns, audio of him screaming at civilians, of him begging for love, of him killing people who disappointed him. The city gasps. Homelander freezes. "No," he whispers, "I turned it off." Batman steps closer. "You wanted to be seen." Homelander roars, firing heat vision, but Batman is already moving. Smoke, mirrors, sonic pulses tuned, not to damage, but to destabilize. Frequencies that trigger Homelander's sensory overload. His vision flickers, his balance falters. For the first time, he looks lost. "You can't do this," Homelander screams. "I'm the hero." Batman's voice cuts through the chaos. "Heroes don't need applause." Homelander charges, wild, unfocused. Not a god now, a child throwing a tantrum with nuclear fists. Batman doesn't try to overpower him. He doesn't need to. He redirects. He dodges. He waits. Every move Homelander makes is fueled by rage. Every Mr. Strike feeds his panic, and the world watches their gods stumble, scream, fail. Batman triggers the final contingency, not a weapon, but a truth. A recorded message, a younger Homelander, crying, alone, begging scientists to stay, to love him. The sound echoes through the plaza. Homelander collapses to his knees. "Stop," he pleads. "Please, stop." Batman stands over him, not triumphant, not cruel. "You were never a god," Batman says quietly. "You were a weapon that wanted to be loved." Homelander looks up. Batman steps back. Homelander is exposed, broken, powerless, not because his strength is gone, but because his myth is. Cameras zoom in as soldiers cautiously restrain him with containment tech Batman designed, not to torture, not to execute, but to hold. The world watches its god fall. No explosion, no final scream, just silence. And in that silence, something unprecedented happens. Accountability. Batman disappears into the smoke as authorities swarm the plaza. No cheers follow him, no chants, no applause. He doesn't look back, because this victory was never about winning. It was about control. And tonight, for the first time in this world's history, the gods lost it. The world doesn't end with an explosion. It ends with the truth. Screens across the globe flicker to life, not with slogans or heroic music, but with raw, unfiltered footage. Boardroom conversations, suppressed reports, screams cut short, numbers on spreadsheets labeled acceptable losses. Faces once worshipped, now exposed in silence. Vought's empire collapses in real time. The illusion shatters. Supes are no longer saviors. They are what they always were, products built without restraint, unleashed without conscience. The world watches gods bleed, lie, beg, and fall. Some are arrested. Some disappear. Some are hunted by the same public that once cheered them. There are riots, trials, reckonings. Cities erupt in anger that has been buried for decades. Statues are torn down, merchandise burned, names rewritten in history, not as heroes, but as warnings. Vought International is dismantled piece by piece. Assets seized, executives indicted, black sites uncovered, secret labs dragged into daylight. The corporation that once dictated reality now scrambles to survive it. And for the first time, it can't spin its way out. Because the evidence isn't a rumor. It's undeniable. In the aftermath, the boys are no longer shadows. They're vindicated. Billy Butcher stands before a tribunal, bruised but defiant, answering questions he's waited years to hear. Huey testifies, voice shaking but steady, telling the truth even when it hurts. MM's files become the backbone of multiple prosecutions. Frenchie watches names cross screens, names he thought would never see justice. They aren't heroes, but they were right. The world doesn't thank them the way it thanks Supes. There are no action figures, no parades, just quiet acknowledgement. And that's enough, because truth doesn't need applause. In the middle of it all, one figure remains absent. No interviews, no statements, no claim of victory. Batman watches from the edges of the world he helped change. Governments reach out, committees form, emergency councils debate what comes next. They ask the same question over and over. Who will protect us now? They look to the man who stood against gods and won. They look to Batman, but he refuses. Leadership was never his goal, rule was never his purpose, and he doesn't replace one system with another. He doesn't sit on thrones built from rubble, because power centralized is power corrupted. Batman leaves behind something else. Symbols, files encrypted and leaked to the right hands, protocols for accountability, frameworks designed not to create new heroes but to limit them, to watch the watchers, to ensure no one ever rises unchecked again. He dismantles without dominating, corrects without conquering. In alleyways and quiet streets, small things begin to change. People speak more carefully, question more loudly, fear the sky a little less. Children stop wearing capes. They start asking questions. On a rooftop, overlooking a city, learning how to stand without gods, Batman prepares to leave. The multiversal rift hums softly behind him, stable now, controlled. But he lingers, because this world will remember him differently, and not as a savior, not as a ruler, not even as a hero, but as proof. Proof that gods can fall. Proof that systems can break. Proof that one man refusing to look away can change everything. Batman steps into the light of the rift. The city doesn't notice. And that's exactly how he wants it. He leaves behind no statue, no command, no crown. Only the idea that justice doesn't need permission. And that idea is unstoppable. The world is changed forever. Not because a god ruled it, but because one man refused to. The war doesn't end with an explosion. There's no victory parade, no triumphant headline splashed across a skyline. Vought still stands, wounded, exposed, scrambling to rebrand the truth. Batman tore into the light. Supes still exist. Power still corrupts. But something has changed. And that's enough. Batman stands on the edge of a rooftop as dawn bleeds into the city. Below him, people move differently now, slower, more cautious. Cameras no longer point upward in worship. They turn sideways, searching, questioning. For the first time, the world is watching the right people. Bruce checks the stabilizer gauntlet on his arm. Wayne Tech re-engineered from salvaged components, humming with multiversal energy. The rift is open again, small, unstable. A narrow door home. He could step through. Gotham is waiting. But before he leaves, there is one last thing to do. Batman enters the bunker one final time. The servers glow softly, running on borrowed time. Within them is something far more dangerous than weapons or plans. Truth. Files compiled over months, financial trails, black site locations, kill orders, medical records, everything Vought buried beneath NDAs and blood. Everything Homelander couldn't laser into silence. Batman doesn't release it all at once. He schedules it. Time drops, redundant mirrors, dead man switches spread across the globe. If any one piece is destroyed, 10 more go live. He leaves behind a system, not a savior, a framework anyone can use. Journalists, whistleblowers, citizens with nothing left to lose. A blueprint for justice that doesn't require a mask. Butcher watches from the doorway, arms crossed. "So that's it then," he says. "You disappear." Batman doesn't turn. "You don't need me anymore, aha." Butcher snorts. "Don't get sentimental." Yet his voice softens. "You've changed the game, mate. Supes are scared." Batman finally looks at him. They should be. Across the city, small things ripple outward. A young woman uploads footage she would have deleted yesterday. A Vought intern leaks a document instead of shredding it. A cop hesitates before looking the other way. In a back alley, a kid paints a symbol on a brick wall, not the bat, but something inspired by it. A mark that says someone is watching. Batman doesn't see most of this. He doesn't need to. That was never the point. He steps toward the rift, energy crackling around him. The pull of home tugs at something deep in his chest. Before he goes, he records one final message, encrypted, anonymous, addressed to no one and everyone. "If you're hearing this," his voice says, calm and unwavering, "then you already know the truth. Power doesn't make you right, it only reveals who you are." The rift widens. Batman pauses at the threshold. For a brief moment he looks back at the city. This world never asked for him, never believed in him, never deserved him. And yet, it changed. Not because a god descended from the sky, but because a man refused to look away. Batman steps into the light. The rift collapses behind him, sealing with a thunderless finality. Gone, but not erased. Weeks later, Vought releases a statement, a new initiative, a new face, a promise of reform. No one believes it. Homelander smiles on camera, but the smile doesn't reach his eyes anymore. He scans crowds differently now, listens harder, sleeps less. Somewhere out there he knows. There was one man he couldn't break, and that terrifies him. In the final shot, we linger on the city skyline at night. No bat signal, no capes, just people, watching, recording, refusing. A legacy not carved in stone, but in choice. And the words echo, spoken not as a boast, but as a truth earned in blood and silence. This world didn't need a god. It needed a man who wouldn't look away.